Can you tell when someone is manipulating public opinion, your opinion? If you're tired of right-left politics, join us at Red Zone Politics and get wise to the game of political perception. An alleged sexual harassment of a female sports reporter in an NFL locker room. Imagine female sports reporters in male locker rooms where they're walking around in various states of undress. Don't put me in there, that's all I can say, because they'll be in trouble. Inez Sainz of Mexico's TV Azteca is not your typical female sports reporter. For one thing, she seems to have milked her sex appeal for all it's worth. So when catcalls erupted in the locker room of the New York Jets on a recent visit from Sainz in a bid to interview Mark Sanchez, the Jets quarterback, Red Zone Politics wonders what's right with this picture.
In terms of the attire of the women that go in there, I think there should be kind of guidelines around that.
Established
around women and men.
Established by the NFL or established by the news agencies that hire them?
Well, I think it would have to be universal.
Inez Sainz, if you're watching, Howard Fletcher, Long and Foster Real Estate, Bethesda Avenue office.
He's in love with you, baby. Red Zone Politics take on this is no reporters in locker rooms, male locker rooms or female locker rooms. Reporters out, let the people do the 3 S's, and 2 of them are shower and shave, and then you can talk to them afterwards. What make you of Blanche Lincoln's win? Because I think it's a Pyrrhic victory for Lincoln and for the Democratic Party. I think it's very likely that she may not be able to pull out the win in November against the Republican, given the animosity toward her from large chunks of the liberal base.
Well, a lot of our good politicians are very principled, and the principle is to win at any cost. And I think of Arlen Specter as it didn't work for him in Philadelphia, but that is changing parties and frankly coming out and saying, I'm doing this because I'm not going to win as a Republican, so I'm going to try it as a Democrat. She didn't change her party label, but she changed her politics, I think, big time when she came to.
Actions speak louder than words, and when somebody takes that oath and then does nothing while the border with Arizona and New Mexico is a sieve, and then sues the state of Arizona for trying to defend its own citizens, I have a problem with that.
It's political correctness run amok, and it's really any group that is petitioning policymakers in this country or Americans for something they feel they deserve. They actually have a responsibility themselves to see what it's like from the majority perspective. Don't just go out and demand instant citizenship when you've come here illegal. Do you think coming out of a road game where you won in the other guy's house can make you a little complacent? Because I noticed, of course, the Celtics beat the Lakers in their house, game 2, and then came back and just couldn't quite pull it together for game 3. And I've also noticed that the Lakers seem to be a third quarter team, and the Celtics seem to be a fourth quarter team. Is that off base?
No, I think it's accurate. I think right now the leader, the strongest leader on both teams is Kobe Bryant. He's got the experience as far as winning world championships, and everybody always talks about his desire to win. But there's guys on the Celtics that can get very hot. There's some very talented players like Ray Allen, hit 8 3-pointers, was up there. I'm not sure if it was a record, but it was. I think he went 8 for 13. Yeah, in game 2, he had a bunch of 3-pointers, and he just got hot. And that can happen with other players too. And it's, that's the wild thing about the NBA. They play 100 games, and then it comes down to 2 or 3 games at the end of who gets to be the champion.
Speaking of girl candidates, I kind of like this story in South Carolina. South Carolina is becoming the poster state for sex scandals, specifically for extramarital affairs. And what I think is really cool is that finally a woman is being accused of having, an affair outside of her marriage. And, to me, that's equal opportunity.
I don't look at it as equal opportunity. I look at it the same for men and for women in terms of, are you fit to govern? And I do have questions about people's fitness when they've been lying to people that they love. Now, I don't think that any of the rumors about her have been substantiated.
In my view, is it really our business? That's what I would say. I do think that Americans and even politicians and even public figures are actually entitled to a private life, and people are human.
People often blame Washington for these kind of shenanigans, and I often ask, well, where do these people come from? Well, they come from South Carolina.
Well, Palin, actually, Sarah Palin supports her, so you know that's going to help her out. Palin is using rhetoric. She's using new rhetoric. She's calling her and anybody else a conservative reformer. So see what you can make of that. I think that's a very interesting concept. And she's also making a regular habit of comparing GOP women to grizzlies and pit bulls. I don't know how you would feel about being compared to a pit bull or grizzly, with lipstick, obviously.
Well, it depends on what traits of the pit bulls and the grizzlies they're talking about.
Yeah, probably, the character.
I mean, a pit bull can be very tenacious. They can also be vicious. So it depends on the situation.
What right does the President of the United States, what right does his wife have to tell me I can't have salt on my food? That is absurd.
Kelly, you're a nutritional consultant, so don't you have something to say about that? Because we're talking here about some of the obesity initiative that Michelle Obama.
I don't think that Michelle herself is telling you directly how much salt to have on your food. They're trying to just put general guidelines and regulations so that we don't kill people as quickly as we are in this country. And you could choose whatever you want from there, but you can go out and you can make whatever you want. You can add as much salt as you want to anything.
Yeah, but I'm not paying for your health care bill at the end of it, Howard. You know what I'm saying? As a taxpayer here, I think this is why people are trying to get kids early on and have the junk food companies not up in the public schools, for instance, because you're looking at people making profit out of creating, young people when they're adolescents and teenagers, their bodies are forming. That's when they can become addicted to substances that are bad for them. That's when they can develop habits, any kind of habit that's unhealthy. And on the tail end of it, our culture ends up paying the tab for people walking around being 400 pounds because they've been eating Cheetos for breakfast their whole lives, and they were taught that was fine and that was their individual right. Is that not correct?
And they didn't have a lot of options either. I mean, I just want to count to this really quickly when you're talking about freedom. Are these, children really free when their only option for lunch is something out of a vending machine or McDonald's?
Exactly.
And that's what's happening in large minority schools these days.
There's no instant replay in baseball, so you can't go back and fix it. It stands once the umpire calls it. But the interesting thing about how this unfolded was, of course, at first there was a lot of frustration by the fans and everybody, and of course by the Detroit Tigers manager, but everybody handled it graciously. The pitcher and the umpire were very apologetic about it. What does this say about sort of, whether there should be, in fact, instant replay in baseball, but to see people behave that way in a sports arena with that level of grace, I don't know what you think, Don. That was kind of unusual, isn't it?
Well, it certainly kind of refutes the image of men and going toe-to-toe and fighting over anything and everything at any opportunity. And I think what this demonstrates is that strong, professional, virile athletes can be empathetic, and it kind of dispels the belief that those two things are mutually exclusive.
How is President Obama handling the oil spill from a perception game perspective? Tony, what do you think about how President Obama is being perceived and handling the politics of this? There shouldn't really be any politics, but there are.
No, there shouldn't be any politics. I mean, here's the thing. If the government knew how to fix this mess, we would. The government would fix it. The president is very charismatic. He's looked up to by a lot of people. And I think, unfortunately, people have this idea in their head that, because, he's so charismatic and very likable, that he should be all things to all people. And you know what? That's a lot to demand out of a president.
Hello.
I mean, he's not a scientist. He's not an engineer. How can anyone in politics, fix an oil spill?
He's just really, really cool.
Yeah.
But it's like Spike Lee was saying, Spike Lee was on CNN, the filmmaker Spike Lee, was saying, yes, he's cool, calm, and collected, but once in a while, you got to go off.
Since you, are in the military community and probably close to the intelligence community, do you think it's possible for Obama to hide anything about his past?
It's a very good question.
I mean, it blows my mind.
If we have confidence in our security operations in this country.
I voted for Obama, but I was somebody who, during the primary, made the statement like 6 months before the election, Barack Obama will never get elected president. He's a black man with the name Barack Obama.
Yeah, he's got that weird name.
So I was like, so I would think if there was anything scandalous to bring out about a Barack Obama, it certainly should have, especially by the intelligence community, which I would imagine by and large voted for the McCain, even though they may not have liked him. I just don't see how he could hide.
That's our show for today. I want to thank all of our guests. We'll see you next time on Red Zone Politics. And remember, if you want to succeed on the political playing field, you've got to understand the game of perception.